It is Monday, April 20th, 6 p.m. Mountain. Actually, it's about 5 minutes early. I figured I was sitting here scrolling. Why not just start it up? My friend Hawk, he decided to join. Everyone say hi to Hawk. Hi. And I was like, maybe there are people looking to hear why do we have 435 representatives in the U.S. House. It's funny we have this stuff everywhere. Why 435, right? And the easiest answer is, well, the 1929 Permanent Apportionment Act. That's it. But that begs the question, well, what happened that led to the 1929 Permanent Apportionment Act? Oh, we could go all the way back to the first proposed amendment that was in the Bill of Rights, the original Bill of Rights, but didn't pass due to some shenanigans by Connecticut. That's over there. But then, well, what happened in between Connecticut's shenanigans in 1929? I don't know, more shenanigans? Well, I remind you, it's 2026. We've got the President of the United States of America saying he's about to disclose a bunch of things about unidentified aerial phenomena, interdimensional beings. Did they have something to do with what happened between the founding of our country and 1929? What do you think, Hawk? He's interested in the granola that my wife made for me. Yeah, I know. It's very confusing. So, I'm just here to make representations to you, and I suppose you can decide whether or not they're worth anything if you want to share them. Often we have guests on this show. Today, the guest is none other than my cat, Hawk. Yes, that is meant to be confusing. Why? Because, some representations are lies. We call those misrepresentations. We can have negligent misrepresentations or intentional misrepresentations, right? You can lie unintentionally or you can lie intentionally. Now, talking about Jeffrey Epstein or the current wars in Israel or Palestine or Iran or Ukraine or Lebanon, they're going to be filled with truth and untruth. Negligent misrepresentations and intentional misrepresentations. And my promise to you is that I will not make intentional misrepresentations. I might accidentally slip up from time to time. And I guess with that, as it says down here, I'm your host, Walter Clapp. Yes, I'm a lawyer. That ESQ stands for Esquire. What does that mean? Nobody knows. It's just an abbreviation. So, what's next? Well, Tuesday. A one-man show. It's something I could have scripted. I don't live a scripted life. I live an unscripted life. Sometimes when I'm preparing for trial, you develop an idea of questions that you're going to ask or evidence that you're going to introduce. But in a lot of ways, you got to go with the flow because you don't know what the other person is going to say. Now, again, in a situation like this, it's a one-man show. I could have scripted this, but who wants scripted in 2026, right? Nobody, not you. I mean, I got a can chock full of nuts. So Just making sure my mic is working there. I've been having some troubles. I'm going to make sure I can see it. But you got me and this can chock full of nuts. I think it's auto dimming me because that's so loud. Okay, so we're getting ready to start the show. And one of the things I have to ask you is, what do you want me to make representations about? What do you want to hear about? You know, representation is two-way communication, we've said often. Do you want to hear about what happened between the founding of our country in 1929? Do you want to hear about Epstein? Do you want to hear about the aliens? You know, what would a House of Representatives look like in a world in which, you know, there are also aliens, non-human intelligences wanting to be represented? That's kind of an interesting question, even if they don't come to pass. You know, this show could take many forms, and where you want it to go is going to inform who we decide to seek out to be on the show for the next year. We could stick to daily political stuff, right? You're run of the mill. Here's what's going on in Iran. Here's what's going on in Ukraine. Surface level, deep dive, whatever you want. That's what we're here for. So if you have specific requests, let me know. Drop a comment. Tell me at my email address, w@y435.org. That's the letter W at y435.org. Spelled just like that. No space and no question mark. All right. So I'm going to start with the run-of-the-mill news. I got to. It's what we've been doing. And, you know, you need to stay informed. You need to know what's happening in the world so that you can be prepared. For one thing, you should budget for an increase in gas price. You've probably already seen it. You've already felt it at the pump. Things are costing more. Well, the pump is just the beginning, because everything is made with or delivered by petroleum, fuels, and their distillates. Okay? The price of gas, the price of diesel goes up. That means it costs more to get the goods to you, even if they've already been made. But it also costs more to make the goods. Those are true representations. So you should be budgeting for an increase in living expenses. It's something that you can know and that you can do, and it's something that I'm here to represent to you is a good idea. This is not legal advice, but it is advice. Just because I'm a lawyer, some people will say you can't give advice without it being legal advice. Therefore, you must always provide a disclaimer. This is not legal advice. It seems like a misrepresentation to me. I mean, this is not legal advice, right? It's not really about the law. But so what if it is? You, all of you, none of you have contacted me seeking legal advice. And I guess if you're going to take action on this, yeah, go find your own lawyer or pay me money before you actually take action. That way, my malpractice insurance will kick in. Doing so or taking action negligently on the basis of a podcast is never wise. This could be a starting point, a point from which you diverge, or a point from which you contact me to hear or tell me what you want to hear about. And maybe we will develop a relationship where I provide you legal advice. But until then, just general advice, just life, common sense, right? Common sense says the price of gas and diesel is going to keep going up. So too is the price of your food. All of the goods that you buy. If you're a business, obviously the cost of goods sold is going to go up. You need to be budgeting for this for the next couple quarters, probably a year. And because not only is the disruption in the Strait of Hormuz very real, but also the bombing, the shattering of infrastructure in the Middle East will take many years to fully undo. right? To rebuild often takes more time than to build in the first place. This is greenfield versus brownfield building, right? If you have a green field, right, level green field, it's like very simple. You know what's there, and you just go and you scoop a little dirt, pour some concrete, some metal, some rebar, some more metal, some sheeting, and bingo bongo, you have yourself, a widget, a factory, a this well, a distillery if you're making alcohol, or a refinery if you're refining crude. They're actually kind of doing the same thing, just different scales, different inputs. Ethanol, as many of you know, is an interesting substance from corn. Okay, all that stuff is gone, and you're not going to have greenfield, right? You're cleaning up literally in a bomb field, right? I mean, is there unexploded ordnance? How about the contamination from the fact that you just blew up a refinery? Okay. It is inconceivable that the Strait of Hormuz is going to open permanently, stably in, I don't know, the next fortnight. Now, there is a ceasefire, but U.S. forces just seized an Iranian cargo ship, the MV Tuska, and oil prices have already surged back up another 6%. Iran has vowed retaliation, and they're going to shut down the strait again, and it violates the ceasefire. And part of what is at play here is that there's not one person in charge of Iran anymore. It's, I think, 5 guys, and those 5 men have different thoughts and feelings. And if they have equal authority, can one of them tell the guys, yeah, shoot them up, and the other one's like, no, quit? And who are they going to listen to? Chain of command. As that starts to break down, you see that the plan for a distributed kind of anti-fragile network of terrorism that Iran designed, well, it's working, but it basically makes it impossible for lasting peace or ceasefire. I mean, it's unclear to me how America emerges from this victorious without, a decade in Iran, right? I mean, I think that's essentially what we're looking at right now, is a decade. So 2036. Well, that means we're going to have a census in between now and then. So will we have uncapped the House? Well, maybe you can use your war powers to, I don't know, pass another surveillance bill. Of course, we know that the current FISA authorization, if you've been keeping track, that has found some hiccups. Let's actually see what's going on with FISA. What is happening with FISA reauthorization? We'll see what old Grok has to say here. So they passed an extension, a 10-day patch, and so it was originally set to expire today. So okay, so they have till April 30th. This is Section 702, and this allows warrantless surveillance of persons outside the U.S., non-U.S. persons outside and inside the U.S. There's a whole matrix. Actually, I took a national security leadership class in law school. I learned all about this. And I would say there are more checks and balances than you might expect, but it also clearly has been abused, right? In the surveillance of Congress, also the surveillance of presidential candidates. So anytime you have, warrantless surveillance or a secret court, right, where you can use national security, it is ripe for abuse. And so you have safeguards, but the safeguards are kind of only as good as the people keeping track. So, if we have endemic corruption in the executive branch, and if we don't have a legislative branch to truly check the executive branch, well, and if we don't have a legislative branch that, say could, I don't know, keep track of all this, because there's just so few of them, and there are, the Department of Justice is bigger than Congress, right? And its staff. It's just kind of it is a situation where you've got one or two people trying to marshal an army of rugged individualists. And it appears today we're not really committed to the same principles. What does America even stand for anymore, if not representation, right? The principle of self-government. What are we? What do we have left? What does America stand for? Being like big and fat and unhealthy and dumb? No. We stand for being individuals coming together through a novel form of government that is a self-replicating system of education at the state level, at the federal level, and between the branches. The legislature is supposed to educate us, and the executive branch is supposed to educate us, and the judiciary is supposed to educate us. And we are supposed to educate each of them back about what we want, about what we need, about what each of those branches need. And they use our tax dollars to fund that. Oh, that's another news topic. It was tax day since the last time we all spoke. Yippee! Sometimes silence says more than another representation. That's called an omission. And you can lie by omission. My goodness, how good have we been at lying by omission? Okay. What has been declassified that I can talk about? MK Ultra. Go look it up. The Tuskegee Airmen. Whatever happened with JFK? That's something that happened between 1929 and today. I think we're going to have to put together a montage with Bill Clinton lying, him and Nixon, because it's bipartisan, right? I mean, this is not a partisan issue, right? The lies, the intentional misrepresentations and the negligent misrepresentations of our government leaders is not partisan. It happens on both sides equally. And it appears to me that we focus on wedge issues, on these whatever hot button emotional social topic of the day, to forget about the fact that our representatives are lying to us. That's taxation without representation. Newsflash. We're all being taxed without representation. Second newsflash. We need not utilize our arms to overcome the present state because we have a constitution. At our founding, they had no constitution. They had no right of representation. And though weak ours may be, it still exists. And we also have the First Amendment, which allows me to sit here and talk to you and tell you, today is the day. Pick up your brains. All we need is a simple freaking bill. A simple bill. How many bills are passed on average every year? How many bills are year by the U.S. Congress? Having a lovely sip of my homemade kombucha. Why? Because I can't be pigeonholed. All right, long-term historical average, post-World War II into the 2010s, roughly 300 to 500 public laws per 2-year Congress, or about 150 to 250 per year. More recently, it's been lower, but tighter. Interesting. 175 to 200, so a little bit less overall. Recent, it's even less, 40% down in recent decades. Anyway, all this is to say, my goodness, y'all, it could be one of these 300 bills that's passed every year. This is not rocket science. This is basic, fundamental American stuff. Get with it or get out. Like, people are complaining about illegal immigrants, and it's like, guys, how about we focus on actually getting representatives that don't lie to us, right? And there I'm talking about an intentional misrepresentation. Most people, when they talk about lying, they say intentional misrepresentation. That's a lie. But again, by omission. Can happen by omission, right? So, for instance, nobody in the media is talking about the fact that we have 435 members in the House. Why not? Why aren't they talking about it? Why? Because they're lying by omission. They are telling you that the most important thing, the most newsworthy thing today is something other than the fact that you forgot that representation is the most fundamental piece of being an American. There is nothing else. It's not your religion. It's not your state. It's your federal effing House member. That is the touch point. It is the fundamental unit of account of your American life. And do you know your rep? How often do you speak with them? Do you trust them? How often have they lied to you? How often have they lied in the last week? It's disgraceful. But there's hope. Amazingly, the tension lives on. I'm here to rant and rave until you click and share and like and all that other crap, or actually just put down your cell phone or your computer altogether and pick up your phone and call your representative and ask them, why don't you support uncapping the House? Huh? And if they don't know what that means, if they don't know why we have 435 members in the House, vote them out. And get with all your buddies. I mean, this is the only issue that matters this midterm. It's the only issue that matters. Everything else is a distraction. The SAVE Act that Republicans are trying to pass right now, a distraction. Talking to you, Senator Mike Lee. In a lot of ways, Epstein, a distraction. You're not going to get the truth until we uncap the House. Same thing with aliens. You're not going to get the truth until we uncap the House. The only way to deal with all these issues peacefully, responsibly, is to have a cadre of House representatives who can educate and, frankly, placate their constituents so that we don't revolt, right? I mean, that's the worry. All these presidents get in, they're like, oh, yeah, if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't tell people either. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense for a single kingly figure to just drop bombs, truth bombs on people. But if you have trusted liaisons, if you have trusted representatives, then we have a dialogue. We have a conversation. We have the ability to talk people off the cliff. And this is about the haves and the have-nots. There are some people who have representation. It is unclear who those people are, and that is why everyone is going crazy on the internet with conspiracies. Because they don't know who, right? They don't know who has all the representation, but it's someone or something. Perhaps it's just the corporations. My goodness, what a relief it would be if it's just the corporations running America. That sounds palatable to me. And all we're asking, whoever you are, that I know you're watching and listening and scooping up this information, all we're asking for is two-directional education that works. Two-directional education that works. I want a representative who listens to me and then will educate me and my neighbors about a common set of facts. It's not that hard. In fact, even my atheist neighbor understands the truth of the crucifixion. It's a historically documented fact. It's one of the best facts there is. The fact that he was crucified. Now, the rest of it, yeah, we can debate about. But there are common facts, and we can agree on them. One common fact is self-government only works with representation. Good quality representation. It's what we need. It's what we must demand. Being honest is difficult. Lying is harder. You can lie to some people sometimes, but you can't lie to people all the time. In America, you haven't kept your lies straight. I'm talking specifically about the intelligence apparatus of this country. People who I know. We have been in Iran since the 50s. We started this. If anyone has any questions about the U.S. and British involvement in the Middle East and why, go read The Prize by Jürgen. We have a vertical stack of petroleum. You can't really get rid of petroleum today. Going electric still requires plastic and diesel at every step of the way. Perhaps that's why we have the 1951 Invention Secrecy Act. You can't turn off the switch without lots of people dying. And here's what I have to say. It would be irresponsible for us to decide one way or another without the input of every freaking American. Because maybe invention 1 through 5 doesn't get you through the stack. But if nobody knows about invention 1 through 5, we'll never get to 100. This is about truth, about material representations, misrepresentations, and your representative. It is about the ability for our government to be honest with us, with our dollars, for us to be taxed, and for that money to be spent in a way that we feel as though we have representation therein. The secrecy in FISA. The secrecy in the Invention Secrecy Act. The secrecy inherent in war. Yet we have no congressional declaration of war. We have the War Powers Act, which has given away our representation. And so we are taxed without representation. I say no taxation without representation. How do we get there? You get representation by going to our website, www.y4435.org. www.y435.org. Go to the website. Reach out to your representative. Demand answers. Our board member, Matt Beat, has been emailing his representative for over 100 days straight. He's on 110. He's gotten one response, which was a BS response. He needs 10,000 more people in his district sending that same email every day. So if you're in the Big First in Kansas, hit him up. There's no reason for a collective of people to lack representation in 2026. Technology makes it so easy. The only reason we don't have representation is because we don't understand it and demand it. I'm going to sign off. Until next week, we've got one of our volunteers who's going to be on the show. Good night. God bless. And never forget, we fought and our ancestors died for representation.